Hello, I'm Pranshi Solanki and I'm going to deliver a presentation on document type declaration. So, what does it mean? Stands for document type definition. In the context of XML, a DTD is a formal specification that defines the structure and the legal elements and attributes of XML document. So, our next slide that actually defines what DTD is, and it acts as a blueprint or a set of rules that XML document must follow. Be considered. Our next slide that says why use DTD. With DTD, independent group of elements peoples can agree on standard DTD for interchanging data, and application can use a DTD to verify that XML is valid. And an internal DTD, there are two DTDs, an internal DTD declaration and an external DTD declaration. If the DTD is declared inside the XML file, it must wrapped inside the doc type definition, as the syntax is already defined here. Another one, inside the internal DTD declaration, the DTD above is interrupted like this. Here, the doc type exclamation mark doc type, that here we have defined a note that defines that the root element of the document is note. Inside that we have an element. Note defines that the note element must contain the four elements: to, from, heading and body. And inside it we have hash PC data. We are using that PC data type, the elements, to define that elements from, to, heading and body. An external DTD declaration. If the declaration is an external DTD file, then we use doc type as given the syntax. Here we have an element that's note. Inside that we have to, from, heading, body. Building blocks of XML document: PC data, CD data, elements, attributes and entity. We have earlier read about PC data we have used in the internal and external declarations. PC data is the text will be parsed by parser, and the text will be examined by the parser for the entity of the markup. And CD data will not be parsed by parser. Elements, attributes and entity. We have three more building blocks. Define the elements defines the structure and the content of the XML data. Attribute provides additional information about the elements, and entity represent frequency used strings in the XML documents. We have entity DTD elements: element declaration, empty elements and child elements. Now we are going to learn declaring elements. In DTD, XML elements are declared with the following syntax. Here's the syntax: smaller than, exclamatory mark, element and element name and category. We are going to have examples for it. So for empty elements, we have element name and then empty. So we are keeping element name as a br. XML file will be generated like br. Child element. So here the syntax for child element. When we have one or more child are declared with the name of the inside the parenthesis. So here are the another DTD attributes: declaring attributes, default attributes and enumerated attributes. These are the following attributes of declaring: C data, en1, en2, id reference, nm tokens, entities, entity names, notations and XML. Here we have en1 and en2 as envelopes. We can choose either of them. ID and ID reference, when we take the reference to any ID, names and tokens and entities are the following things. Default attributes. Specifying the default attributes for an attribute assures that the attribute will get value even if the author of XML document didn't include it. So here the syntax: square, width and cdata. It will take it as a default as we have put it as a 0. Inside the default attributes, we have fixed, implied and required. So sender company cdata fixed Microsoft. We have kept fixed as attribute as Microsoft. For sender company Microsoft, for sender company W3 schools, which will be invalid. For implied, we are using that we have a particular number that we have fixed inside that. Here is the facts: 5566778. In required, we actually need that we have to include anything, any number. So we have used 5677, which should be included inside that. Enumerated elements, here's the syntax: at least element name, attribute name, and inside which we have used envelope 1, envelope 2 and default values. So here's the either we can choose check or cache. Internal and external entities. Here's the syntax for internal entity name and the entity value. So here's the writer and copyright is the entity name, and the entity value will be Donald Duck and copyright W3 schools. Okay, so another slide: external entity. Here's the syntax: entity name and system is URI or URL. So for that we have used the system, as we are going out of the page or the folder for acquiring that entity. So we use that URL inside the external entity. Real life example will be a TV schedule. We have used here the example. We have scheduled it with note TV schedule, and inside which we have entity and attributes. Inside the TV schedule we have channels or more than the channels. Inside the channel we have another attributes: banner and day. Inside the banner we have PC data. We could include anything in XML structure. Day, inside that we have envelope like holiday or program slot. We can choose either of them, and accordingly we have other ones.